Okay, so it is like November 24th or something like that. Okay, Alberta declares state of public emergency amid COVID second wave. And I'm listening, but I'm telling you guys, I'm telling you. They're laughing at us. Okay? They're laughing at us. Okay, so I want you to watch this guy. I think he's a doctor you-know-who for Alberta. Okay? As soon as he comes to here, the first thing, and I'm going to turn it up, people, so you hear it. The first thing he basically does is stick out his tongue and make that noise. Okay? Before he starts anything, well, he starts washing his hands. Let me just turn this up so you hear it. Did you hear it? Okay, now it's on slow motion. Did you hear that? Okay, so same thing, just different channel. I guess this is the Alberta government channel. Poor resolution, even though it's at 780 PSI, or whatever it's called. 720. Sorry. Anyway, I'm just going to turn up the volume. Doesn't seem to be on slow speed. I'm going to put it on slow speed. This is for educational purposes. Well, we didn't hear much there. Nope. Now, mind you, okay, you heard that. That was the first thing that came out of his mouth, people. Okay? First thing. That was the first thing that he said. To make sure they are heard. John Horgan is the same way. Yeah. exact same way. He did that right over the mic. So, whoever's listening, obviously at a different octave, heard it. Okay? Okay, so this is the other video. Just happened to stop it there. Okay, so we're going to just listen to this briefly. This is like as of today, I think. We'll double check the date.
Thank you, Premier, and good afternoon, everyone. In light of the overview that Premier provided of the measures and the good reasons why we need to take further steps to contain the spread of COVID, I'll now go over each of the measures in more detail. And I also note that this information is also listed on alberta.ca. Effective immediately, no or indoor social gatherings will be permitted. Outdoor social gatherings will be permitted to a maximum of 10 people.
Every time he sticks out his tongue, people, I'm clicking.
Indoor social contact should be limited to those within a single household.
Maybe that one wasn't, I don't know. Sometimes they're so fast you can't see them.
Now, if you're someone who lives alone, you may have up to 2 non-household social contacts. The limit on indoor social gatherings does not apply to those providing home-based services such as healthcare or home care, childcare, and other services in a private residence. Funeral and wedding ceremonies must be limited to no more than 10 people, and receptions will not be permitted. These gathering limits apply across the entire province. They'll stay in place until further notice, and they're mandatory. Not following them could result in fines of $1,000 for ticketed offenses and up to $100,000 through the courts.
Oh, wow. Did you hear that, people? $100,000 if you go past your 2 people limit.
We'll be using, as Premier said, the EAS, the Emergency Alert System, to ensure all Albertans are aware of these requirements.
Now they're bringing this to an alert system. Beep, 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 beep. This is an emergency. This is a test. Beep, beep, beep. Don't breathe. Right? Beep. I'm just waiting for the UN soldiers to show up into Canada if they're not here already. Seriously. And I was looking for that fella. I can't remember his name. I looked under Area 51 and I'm looking under Roswell testimonies. Okay? I'm not going to drag this out, people. We already know how YouTube rolls. Okay? Maybe I'll just keep this short and brief for now. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I just know that that fella, that, well, he died. He died in his apartment, suspiciously. They tried to say he knocked himself off, but he had no reason to. His family disputed that. But he said when he was alive, he has videos. I've watched those videos, people. He used to go out and have seminars. It looks like YouTube has scrubbed his videos off of their server. Or maybe I need to know his name. I can't remember his name. But anyway, he said he worked for the government up in those Area 51, right? Someplace around there. And he got into a fight with aliens in the shaft. Because they came up as he was down there with his buddies and they were shooting at each other with lasers and shot off his finger and shot him in his torso and something like that, right? And his buddies managed to rescue him. And he was going on about how there's different levels under the ground with different operations that are being so-called managed by aliens with their pecking order, people. And the deeper you went down, the more secretive it became. Right? Anyway, he died. It looks like, he's not in the search engine when it relates to that subject. It's not to say you couldn't find one of his videos if you knew his name. Perhaps somebody knows his name that's watching my video. The point is, people, that I tend to believe what he was saying. Obviously, he lost his life because of what he was saying. And, people aren't just going to go off and start talking like that unless there's a reason for it. And just with everything that I've come to the conclusion of, right, in terms of what's happening today in 2020, I do feel that whatever was deep down in the ground, and this is the point of this video, has come to the surface and is disguising itself as human beings, as they traffic human beings, whether they're babies from Africa, whether they're those 178,000 Americans that go missing in the United States of America every year, whether it's all those fentanyl deaths in British Columbia, Canada, that's been on full overdrive since 2013 when fentanyl first hit the province but wasn't reported on as a so-called crises until 2016, with nothing in sight to stop it because, again, murder is covered up by the policing agencies, the coroner service, the healthcare system, because the bodies is their meal ticket, people. Okay. They want the bodies to keep coming in. So they're not going to stop the fentanyl that brings in those bodies in high numbers. I don't know how many people go missing in British Columbia, Canada every year, never mind in all of Canada. But I'm sure there's a few of them that are never found. Right? And of course, no justice for those people. So I guess what I'm just trying to say is, I do think that whatever was under Area 51 had plenty of time to genetically modify their little proteges of themselves, right? To do what they're doing today in combination with artificial intelligence. But this is more than artificial intelligence, okay? Now, lizards, in terms of a lizard, right? The lizard family, reptile family. They hear at a different frequency. They communicate with their tongue, right? When they stick out their tongue, like a reptile, a snake, or whatever, you know, they're testing the air. They can taste things in the air, right? They do come down with viruses and shit like that, right? They're not immune to viruses. So, you know, just in light of what I've gathered over the last several months with just the way some of these individuals perpetrate a pattern that represents a form of sign language to communicate to somebody that's not necessarily like you or myself, just tells me that, you know, we're dealing with something that is not normal. And we have to ask ourselves, where did it come from? Wutan Lab, Area 51, up in Nelson, BC, because there's rumors there's stuff going on out there with alien DNA and splicing and dicing of this and splicing and dicing of that. You know. And now with winter, these individuals all across the board, New York, Alberta, British Columbia, Doug Ford, they're all jumping on that UN bandwagon, or we'll just call it the bandwagon, where everybody's going into a state of emergency. It's a lockdown where you're facing now $100,000 in fines if you break the rules, right? And, you know, like, this is pathetic, people. This is so, so pathetic. If they're treating people like this now, okay, and they're pushing that envelope for the vaccine, but when you're going to get a large portion of the population saying, no, we don't want the vaccine, even though they've had to endure a year or more of draconian legislation, which isn't real legislation, but they're skirting it in as legislation through a false perception of a plague. Dr. You-Know-Who in British Columbia, Canada, specifically the last time they did their live stream, and it's not the first time that that individual's done this, but calls it a plague. They relate it to a plague. This is not a plague, people. You know, and you know, the rules are just, you know, like the orders or whatever, like they're just cornering people to a point where they're going to come and say, if you don't take the vaccine, that's it. We're sending in the UN soldier or the altered cop with the alter identity, right? Right? The shapeshifter, right? We got it pretty much documented that something's fishy with them, right? And what? They're just gonna haul your ass out and charge you $100,000 for not taking the vaccine, or keep you locked up until you do? think about it. If they're doing this now to the public based on a plague that isn't even legitimate, because you have to remember, we're dealing with ghostwriters, so they can write in anything they want. And they've been doing it, right? Now, I'm going to end it on this, and I'm going to keep this video very short. How about that? Because there's lots of things I'd love to show you. But, one, I don't have the energy to go through it. And two, it's just a heat score in terms of what we're dealing with these, as to who these individuals are. You can figure it out for yourself, people. It doesn't take long, because anytime they're on camera, that's all they do, right? I mean, 50 times later, in a 20-minute, half-an-hour video, you do the math. I mean, their lips are sopping wet by the time they walk away from the mic. I can only imagine what the mic is like in terms of spittle, for as much as they all pretty much stick out their tongues. They do telepathy as well, but I think the tongue thing, especially when they're trying to make you hear it, because John Horgan does it too, where you can actually hear it with the flicker. Well, I can't do it because I'm not genetically modified that way, right? But you get my point, right? Right? Hold on a minute. I just had to sit him up. So, I don't know, people. There's definitely something wrong. They've had a long time to position themselves into this situation. Okay? And there's telltale signs with the communication of how they do it. Right? And they're definitely harvesting something. Well, more than something. They're harvesting a few things. Okay. That's why they communicate with each other. Right? It's not for chit-chat. It's not for their socialization. It's to confirm that it's business as usual, moving in the direction that they want to move in. Not us, human beings, but those that are hidden behind a mask of some sort that generated from deep down somewhere in the ground, uninterrupted, right? As that guy said before he died. I do believe that what he was saying, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Obviously, YouTube is scrubbing it, right? Because if you Google Area 51 or Roswell, it should come up in the search engines, but they don't want people to know. Hold on a minute.
For years, and wondered at what's
so
been
I
flying
found it.
There's all kinds of things been flying.
That's his name.
Let me give you a brief overview. Start in ancient history land here. Back in 1909, the U.S. cavalry was engaged in...
So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to upload this video now, as is. And I'm going to add the link at least to this. Now there's a lot of... this is on a playlist here, I can see. And it looks like... I mean, look at this. Look at all these deleted videos. Do you see that? Look at that. That one's private. Deleted, deleted, deleted. Deleted, deleted. Delete, well, private. Whole bunch of deleted. Anyway, this is the one we're watching. So, I don't have to put it into the playlist. I can just take out that part. I think. Refresh the page.
On the outside for years and wondered.
And I'm just going to put that into my description box. And for anyone that hasn't seen this guy, I recommend that you listen to him, to what he has to say. Well, had to say. He's dead now. Right? To kind of help you to figure out what's going on. Right? I don't make no apologies, people. Okay? In my mind, it's pretty clear to see there's too much of the same everywhere you go when it relates to those types of individuals. And they're all playing from the same deck, playing the same cards, right? Playing the same hand, right? And it's not going to turn out to be very good, in my opinion. No, I think people are going to get a real rude awakening. Yeah, because it's way too orchestrated. I mean, first it was what? A $200 fine. Then it was a $1,000 fine. Then it was a $2,000 fine. I think I heard $10,000 at one point. Now they're upping the ante to $10,000 as they're bankrupting millions across Canada. Tens of millions, creeping into the hundreds of millions in the United States. I can't believe people are allowing this to happen. I can't believe how selfish people have become. Like, there needs to be citizens' arrests. But of course that will never happen. No, that will never happen. And that's why these individuals are doing this stuff, because they know it will never happen. Before they allow that to happen, they'll bring in military from overseas if they haven't already. Right? That's what's going to end up happening here, I think. I don't see it going any other way. I don't. I think it's just a matter of time. I think more people are going to disappear to never be seen again. I think people will start being locked up and suspiciously die to never be seen again. And I think the people that are orchestrating this will keep feeding the public, so-called public, the same okie dokie. Right? Because as those people disappear and their bodies disappear, and I'm telling you, people, they're being ingested. In one way or another, they're being ingested. Whether they're being infected with something and something else moves in, or whether they're on a freaking dinner plate, as in, you know, the human cookbook is not the human cookbook, it's how to cook humans. Right. I'm surprised more and more people aren't starting to wake up to that fact. That we're dealing with something that definitely is cold. So anyway, I'm going to end it here, and I'm going to add the link for this video, and I want you to take the time to listen to it with an open mind. And I want you to, when you go through the internet, you know, pay attention to what you're looking at. No. I realize people lick their lips and do that, okay? That's happens, right? But when you are a professional, okay, right, and a speaker, you don't get up on a podium and start licking your lips in different manners every few seconds, every few minutes, throughout the whole duration of your spiel. Because one, it kind of looks unprofessional. After a while, it starts to look kind of piggish, if you ask me. But if it's being used as a form of communication, the ones that are watching that are like them, right, you know, they need that reassurance that the bad guys are with the bad guys, right? It's not the good guys with the good guys, it's the bad guys with the bad guys. Because remember, it's the bad guys that are doing everything behind closed doors in the dark and hiding it, which makes them, by default, bad. Okay, they're not communicating to the good guys, they're communicating to the bad guys in the community. The ones that facilitate that 178,000 Americans disappearing into the abyss to never be seen again. Those are the bad guys. Okay? They just want to up the ante because there's too many bad guys now, people. Right? That's my opinion. It's too orchestrated. And they all pretty much act and do the same thing. And if you're paying attention, you don't need me to go from this politician to this politician to this politician to this politician, show you their eyes, show you how they're right. And you don't need me to do that to be able to see it for yourself. And then put them all into one big pile and realize that they're all the same. They're all the same. And when they get up on the podium, they're not talking to us. They're dictating to us, but they're not talking to us. Okay, they're talking to somebody else. They're reassuring their supporters, right, that the food chain isn't broken. That whatever they were doing deep down under the ground is in full swing. And nothing has stopped it. As a matter of fact, they ramped up the production. This is what this is. They're ramping up the production as they launder public tax dollars to do it. To prop up their monopolies, right? So that they stay in control of the economy and the human race, basically. And when you get people like Phil Schneider, who's no longer here, exposing some of that, you know, you kind of have to look back as the canary in the coal mine. He was the canary in the coal mine. Well, it's beyond that now, people. Right? They're not in the coal mine anymore, these things. Okay? They're out and about. And they've been out and about for quite a long time. But, you know, these premiers in Canada, like, I really wonder what happened to them. Like, did they sign up for this on purpose? Did they freely give themselves over to be infected because they thought that by doing that, they would live forever? Or live till they're 500 years old? Right? Like, what was the incentive for them to say, yeah, infect me with alien DNA or splice and dice me with a lizard and an octopus and a monkey, so I have all these extra traits so that I can be superhuman, right, with monkey powers. I'm just using that as an example, right? You know, like, did they freely allow other people, did they freely allow other beings, other individuals to infect them? Or were they murdered? Had their bodies devoured, but took a bit of the DNA and somehow were cloned? Or were they murdered, had their bodies gutted, and then something else moved in? And they did a shimmy. I don't know, people. I just know that they're all the same. Como in New York. The politicians in British Columbia, Canada. The politicians in Ontario. The politicians in Alberta. Manitoba. That Newsom in California. These are just individuals that I'm pulling off at the top of my head in terms of who I've been looking at with their eyes and this shit for the last, 6 or 7 months? Right? I just don't post it online because, you know, right? My son said, you got all that on your computer? I'm like, yeah. He goes, Mom, I'm starting to worry about you. Well, yeah, it's not that you got to worry, it's the fact that there's something wrong. Right? You know, I don't want to dwell on it too much, people, but then on the other hand, I don't want people to just be passive with it. Right? I really don't, because, like, this is going nowhere. What these individuals are doing with their emergency this and lockdown that and restriction this and order that, tell me, where is it going? Where is it going? Right? You think that if you submit to a vaccine that is unproven, was rushed to put together, that's being bought with blood money in terms of taxpayers' money being laundered into a pharmaceutical industry that has a history of corruption? Do you honestly think it's going to stop with the vaccine? Or is the vaccine going to be the hook that they can reel you in with when they're ready? And what's going to happen to the people that refuse it, such as myself? What's going to happen to me? There's going to be a lot of us out there. See, government, what? They have their ghostwriter. They already have it written, people. It's already decided what they're going to do. Anyway, listen to this guy, okay?